Hello students, welcome to the lecture on planning a new business venture, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the business plan, discuss the creating one's own business plan, explain the steps for developing sales projections, define the work program business. Introduction. A business plan is a detailed description of how an organization intends to produce, market, and sell a product or service. A good business plan describes to others and to our own board of directors, management and staff the details of how you intend to operate and expand our business. A well-written plan will serve as a guide through the startup phase of the business. It can also establish benchmarks to measure the performance of our business venture in comparison with expectations and industry standards. A good business plan will help to attract necessary financing by demonstrating the feasibility of our venture and the level of thought and professionalism bring to the task. Business plan development. Neighborhood development. A new business venture might serve as an anchor to a deteriorating neighborhood commercial area, attract additional businesses to the area, and fill a gap in existing retail services. We may need to find a use for a vacant commercial property that blights a strategic area of our neighborhood. Establish goals. Once we have identified goals for a new business venture, the next step in the business planning process is to identify and select the right business. Local market study. A good market study will measure the level of existing goods and services provided in the area and assess the capacity of the area to support existing and additional commercial or ownership activity. This assessment is based on the shopping and traffic patterns of the area and the demographic and socio-economic characteristics of the community. Analysis of local and regional industry trends. Another method of investigating potential business opportunities is to research local and regional business and industry trends. We may be able to identify which business or industrial sectors are growing or declining in our city, metropolitan area or region. The Regional or Metropolitan Area Planning Agency for our area is a good source of data on industry trends. Internal capacity. The board, staff or membership of our organization may possess knowledge and skills in a particular business sector or industry. Our organization may wish to draw upon this internal expertise in selecting potential business opportunities. Internal purchasing needs, collaborating procurement. Perhaps an organization frequently purchases a particular service or product. If nearby affiliate organizations also use this service or product, this may present a business opportunity. Examples of such products or services include printing or copying services, travel services, etc. Identify business opportunities. Buying an existing business. Rather than starting a new business, it can always be considered to purchase an existing business. Perhaps a local retail or small light manufacturing business that has been an anchor to the local retail area or a much needed source of jobs in the neighborhood is for sale. Advisory. After deciding on a business opportunity that meets the goals of our organization, next step is to test the feasibility of the venture and to present our business concept to the world. A solid business plan will clearly explain the business concept, describe the market for our product or service, attract investment, and establish operating goals and guidelines. Creating one's own business plan. A business plan can be completed by one staff member working full-time in as little as a week, although a thorough market analysis will add several days at least. Executive summary. The executive summary may be the first and only of our business plan that most our audience will read. Although the executive summary is the first part of any business plan, We should write it after we have written the other part of the plan. Company and product description. In describing our company, be sure to include what type of business we are planning: home ownership development, wholesale, retail, manufacturing, or service, and the legal structure, corporation or partnership. Market description. A solid business plan will clearly explain the business concept, describe the market for our product or service, attract investment, and establish operating goals and guidelines. Equipment and materials. Describe any machinery and vehicles necessary in the production, packaging, and distribution of your product, including any office equipments such as computers, copiers, furniture, fixtures, and telephone systems. Also, discuss the types of materials you will use in the production process and describe the source and cost of those materials. Describe the type of facility in which we will house our business. Also discuss any building features required for the production process, such as high ceilings, specialized ventilation and heating systems, sanitized laboratory space, or vehicular accessibility. Describe our strategy for locating your target market, informing or educating customers about your product or service, and convincing them to purchase it. Operations. Be sure to highlight our management team's experience in managing the production, marketing, and administration of similar businesses or within the selected industry, and attach the resumes of each member to the plan. Be sure to provide a complete job description of any vacancies in our management team. Describe the responsibilities, the skills, the background required, and the steps planned to take to fill that key position. Don't forget to mention the ownership details. Management and ownership. In preparing the statements like startup budget, cash flow projection, income statement, balance sheet, it is important to seek the advice of a certified public accountant, CPA. Describe the initial expenses we will incur to get our business up and running. Cash flow projection. This statement presents a month-to-month schedule of the estimated cash inflows and outflows of our business for the first year. This schedule should indicate how much money our business will have or need and when we will need it. Income statement. Prepare a multi-year 3 to 5 year statement of projected revenue, expenses, capital expenditures, and cost of goods sold. This statement should indicate to the reader the potential of our business to generate cash and its profitability over time. Balance sheet. A startup business probably will not have any assets or liabilities at the time we are drafting the business plan. Financial information and startup timeline, capital requirements. Describe the amount and type of financing we are seeking for our business. Discuss how and when we will draw on these funds and how they will affect the bottom line. Also discuss the nature of their ownership share and how it may change with future investments. Check with other businesses, although not direct competitors, to see what return on investment their investors demanded. Risks and their mitigation. Although it is impossible to know exactly what will go wrong in starting and running our business, thinking about different challenges will strengthen your plan. After we have completed all of the elements of our business plan, we should focus on its presentation. A well-organized plan will assist in communicating the most important elements of our business plan to the reader, and a persuasive plan will help to convince the reader to invest in our business. Steps for developing sales projections. Our business plan is not just a funding tool, but also a blueprint for how our business should operate. The following are steps for developing sales projection. Step 1. Estimate for each product or service. Estimate the number of people who are likely to buy and when they will buy. We can get this information from asking our likely customers about their possible use of our business, or we can base our estimates on our knowledge of the market. Step 2. Uses a calendar. Estimate our sales and number of customers served during 1 week using the totals for a week Make projections for each month. For the first few months, keep in mind that business will start off slowly before people become more aware of our business. Use will most likely increase as people learn about our products and services. Seasonal variations may affect our business as well. We will use these numbers to project our equipment, supply and staffing needs as well as income. Cost account heads, organizational startup costs, product design, development, research and development, legal licensing expenses, property and facilities, land building purchase, initial lease deposit, building repairs, improvements, equipment, machinery, production related administrative office equipment, materials and supplies, personnel, key employees, contact labor, temps, training expenses, marketing expenses, advertisements, brochures, literature, other, insurance premiums, distributor contracts, contingency 5%, expenses, costs of goods sold, material supplies, labor, rent, utilities, insurance, administrative expenditure, legal and accounting, marketing, equipment, maintenance supplies, facility maintenance, fees miscellaneous, debt, equity, investment, equipment loan, building, rehabilitation loan, grants, owner equity, cost of goods sold, wages and benefits, materials, supplies, overhead expenses, rent, utilities, building, maintenance, security, marketing, accounting, legal, administrative expense, interest expense, depreciation. The business priorities. The business priorities are based on a reaffirmation of the joint vision of the promoters of the network, roles in respect of the network. As guardian and promoter of the vision of a national network linking the recorders of business information to the users of the information. As a participant within the network, this largely but not entirely relates to its ownership of the gateway and the underpinning standards of the network. As a facilitator, through bringing together partners who undertake work to develop aspects of the network or organizing meetings at which issues can be discussed and resolved. Approach. The strategic review of the network is designed to move the development program of the network on from its initial proof of concept phase. The next phase of the network's development builds upon this program and will concentrate on expanding and enhancing the network and on adding content provided by an increasing assemblage of contributors in response to user needs. Other aspects of the program, including further development of gateway functionality, will be subservient to the need to deliver a service based on the mobilization of data in response to the articulated needs of users. Implementation. Here we translate the inspirational targets of a credible and realizable work program for the development of a functional network based on product-related targets. Broadly, the work program can be organized into 3 mutually compatible elements that are required to develop a functioning network offering universal access to business information. The elements differ in the degree of influence the trust may have upon their advancement or on the priority that might be placed upon them if resourcing is a significant constraint. Developing the recording network. The sustainable development of the network is inevitably predicated upon the continuing activity of the voluntary recorders and the organizational mechanisms that support them. The continued development of the network will depend on partner organizations having the capacity to respond to the new challenges and opportunities arising from the evolving network. Furthermore, the present recorder population must be sustained by encouraging others to participate and ensuring that the required training and support is available. The principal target for the development of the Internet Gateway is the addition of content. To meet these changing needs, a set of criteria are required against which new opportunities can be assessed. Coordination and promotion coordination. Once established, the business priorities will be reviewed and updated annually. This will require some modification of the present structure and working practices of the network. The plan is dependent upon coordination of the network work program. Overall, direction and coordination shall continue to remain the responsibility of the promoters. The Secretariat of the network will ensure coordination and revision of the business priorities through servicing of committees and groups as required. Once approved by the promoters, the annual summary will be made available to all members of network. Communication. The need to communicate effectively underlies the whole work program. There is a need to communicate with and between projects, to communicate between partners in the network, with funders, and above all, with those out with the network to encourage them to use the service and participate in it. The Secretariat has a special responsibility for communication, which it will discharge through the use of newsletters, its website, and by organizing special events such as conferences. Resourcing strategy. In the absence of any external funding being attracted, the members would need to redefine their immediate objectives and plan to implement all or part of the business priorities using their own resources. This would doubtlessly require a scaling down of the plan and difficult internal funding decisions. The work program. This builds upon to develop the framework of an actual work program to carry forward the vision. Possible projects are presented in the form of a standardized framework that identifies in the first instance a series of selection criteria to be applied to specific projects. Milestones are also suggested that will give a framework against which specific project progress can be judged. A recommended list of specific projects is also presented for discussion. Developing the network. The capacity of partner organizations in the network to contribute data on an ongoing basis is identified above as a key work area. This will include their internal capacity to carry on the work of gathering relevant data, their capacity to manage those data, and in particular their capacity to continue to make their data available through the network gateway. The supplier organizations are broken down into three main groups: local data gathering institutions and professionally run organizations, example, local records centers, voluntary recording schemes, business organizations. Local data sources. It includes application of the following selection criteria: local partnership in place, including representation from network member organizations where possible, adequate resourcing in place, business plan developed that indicates intention to become active member of network sharing data with others, catalog of data holdings, active data quality management, access policy in place that conforms to network principles, accessing and delivering data through the network, providing service to users, actively working with local recorders and other local data managers to encourage and support all aspects of local recording and promote the efficient management and supply of data. Project management. Coordination and management will be achieved for each theme by working groups of active contributors or funders. The membership of each working group shall normally not exceed 6 members together with an independent chairman who shall not actively participate in the group's projects. Members shall be confined to those who are either involved in and fund, at least in part, the working group's approved projects or contribute in other ways to the group's approved projects. Each working group shall determine its own modus operandi, which shall be reported to and approval sought from the promoters. The duties of each working group shall be to plan, promote, and participate in the projects proposed by the group, approved by the reviewing group within its relevant theme and the promoters. Annually, they shall submit a report on the progress of the projects carried out during the year together with an indication of how far they have met the approved plan. A proposed work schedule for future work to include projects with milestones and details of funding available as required to the relevant annual review group for comment, discussion and forwarding to the promoters for their consideration. Summary. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learnt in this lecture. A well-written business plan serves as a guide through the startup phase of the business. It establishes benchmarks to measure the performance of our business venture in comparison with expectations and industry standards. The first step in planning a new business venture is to establish goals that we seek to achieve with the business. If one fails to establish clear goals early in the process, the organization may spend substantial time and resources pursuing potential business ventures that may be financially viable but do not serve the mission of the organization in other important ways. It is also important to establish a timeline for completing the plan. Provide a timeline of tasks and events necessary to get our business operational.